Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Graham Hales. We're honoured to acknowledge Rear Admiral Rommel Jude Ng, Vice Commander, Philippine Navy, Rear Admiral Mark Hammond, Deputy Chief of Navy, Royal Australian Navy, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Queensland, Mary MacKillop Catholic Primary School, and from New South Wales, St Helens Park Public School. I invite you now to all please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
G'day. Today we remember and pay tribute to Private George Albert Williams. George Williams was born on the 18th of March 1891 at Iron Mine near Burra in South Australia's mid-north. His parents, Daniel and Emily, were well known in the area where his father worked as a contractor, farmer and a member of the local district council. George was educated at Leighton Public School and went on to work on the family farm with his father. He was an active member of the local church and Christian Endeavour Society, and it was reported that his help was sought and willingly given to all religious and patriotic functions. He was a good sportsman and played football for the Aberdeen Football Club and tennis for the Iron Mine Club, as well as being a member of the Leighton Rifle Club. George enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in August 1916. After he suffered a bout of rheumatism, he was forced to defer his service and re-enlisted the following October. He underwent a period of training in Adelaide in preparation for overseas service. During his time, he married Beatrix Potts in Northwood. Just under 6 weeks after their wedding, he left Adelaide on board the troopship Berrima with reinforcements to the 32nd Battalion. Private Williams continued his training in England and finally joined his battalion on the battlefields of France on the 1st of August 1917. Nearly 2 months later, the Australians attacked German positions at Polygon Wood in Belgium. Initially a reserve battalion, the day after the attack began, the 32nd Battalion moved into the front lines and over the following days protected their position from several enemy counter-attacks under heavy fire. On the 30th of September 1917, Private Williams was struck in the head by a shell fragment and was evacuated from the front line. His skull was fractured and he was operated on 3 times to try to relieve the pressure on his brain. However, several shell fragments had penetrated too deeply and could not be removed. 3 weeks after being wounded, George Williams died of a cerebral abscess in a hospital in Etapa and was buried nearby. George was deeply mourned in the Burra district, the local newspaper noting that he gave up a bright and prosperous future for his king and country and for the cause of righteousness and for those he loved. George Williams was 26 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private George Albert Williams, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.